Welcome to the May 13th Committee of the Whole meeting. Call to order at 16:30. We'll begin with disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. You can declare it now or any time during the meeting if you come up against something that's going to conflict with you. We have no delegations today. Moving to Committee of the Whole reports. Administration and Employee Relations, and I'll hand that over to Jason.
Thank you, Chair Johnson. As everyone has before them, my report, and this is kind of a follow-up to my presentation done, it was December or January, regarding my trip to Finland and just general discussions regarding nuclear energy and the upcoming project with the NWMO. As you all know, OPG is a long-standing partner in our community, and they do account for a large part of our general tax revenue. Looking to the future, we're having discussions regarding what does that property hold for the future. We're very fortunate in our council meeting today regarding some great news regarding the power purchase agreement between IESO and OPG, but looking beyond that and looking, decades ahead, what opportunities are there for that property, and we believe possibly projects such as the small modular reactors might fit well, and being a willing host community is very important for OPG, and they look for that when they do their long-term planning. So my report speaks to that, and then also attached to the agenda is a sample resolution to spur the conversation. And we're open to any comments from Mayor and Council regarding the report and the draft resolution.
Are there any questions from Council concerning this? Councillor Knowles.
Thank you, Chair Johnson. I've had a chance to review it. I appreciate the effort that went into putting this together. I don't disagree with the conclusions reached. I'm pretty involved in the business sector myself. I have some concerns, I would say, about portions of the recommendation resolution itself and what that looks like. And I think there's a lot of opportunity to discuss how we can put that together in a way that's perhaps not focused directly on the nuclear aspect and looking more at an energy development as a holistic approach to developing Atikokan itself. And to that end, I'd like to have a very fulsome discussion on what that would look like, because the resolution that's presented in the package, I don't really have a desire to support that in that current form, but I think there's some good wiggle room to have discussion and break it down in a way that makes sense for everybody to have a positive outcome and to show our support for energy projects that might come in the future, but also to not bind any future councils or the community itself beyond our own terms. So I think I'd like to see a lot more discussion on what that would look like, and I have some ideas on how a specific resolution would look based on the one that was provided, and I'd be happy to share that and bring that forward. Thank you.
Any other comments? Mayor Fergie?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Yeah, this is the first blush at this, and one of the reasons for this is that because of the resolution that was passed by a council in the late 80s or early 90s about Atikokan being a nuclear-free zone, and that can be seen as an impediment for anybody that's even considering us. So we're looking to be more open, and I think this is worded, and I appreciate Councillor Knowles' information on some of the changes that he might want to see, but this is very open-ended, and it's not going out and saying that, you know, we are supporting anything. It's if there was an opportunity that we would consider it. And that's all we're saying in this right now. It's not, you know, we're in favor of anything. It just says if there was something that did arise, that the council of the day would consider it. So if we just read it, and I'm sure everyone did read it very carefully, but if you can read it through that lens, you'll see that it doesn't say that we're in favor of any of this thing. We would consider it.
Yes, Councillor Zacharias.
Thank you, Chair Johnson. Just to further that point, I would like to specifically see in the therefore it be resolved that we support the exploration and have development stricken, because I feel like that's more open-ended to, we're open to the possibilities, to explore the possibilities, but not necessarily agreeing to development. So I would like development definitely taken out of there for sure.
Yes, Councillor McQuay.
Thanks, Chair Johnson. Further to that, because of that resolution back in the late 80s, early 90s you speak of, a lot of those citizens still live in our community, and this was a very controversial, high-ticket, like hot topic item in the election phase. And I feel like without public consultation and just passing a resolution without actual information from our citizens is not appropriate at this time. I think we do need to look to our citizens for that.
Just to follow up on that comment, it's important to note that when, in 1990, when that resolution was passed, they were looking to site a low-level nuclear waste facility here within our boundaries. And I think that the community, as you said, were very loud and clear that they did not want that to happen in our community. And as such, the resolution was passed. As Mayor Ferguson has mentioned in the past, we do not have a direct say where the proposed DGR will be sited at either the two locations that are being proposed right now. That is not for our community to decide. That is for the communities of the potential sites. So I think what the historical resolution states, you know, as a nuclear-free zone, does not change, right? I mean, it doesn't matter because we're not being proposed as one of the sites. The transportation, as some other communities know, is certainly of the provinces under their jurisdiction and not the municipality. I think what we're trying to say is that if the Wabigon Ignis site is chosen, certainly our community has an opportunity to take advantage of that, and you know, better that we make it known that we are, you know, willing to have those discussions, you know, now before the site is chosen, I guess, was the intent of the wording of the resolution. And then certainly kind of in conjunction with OPG and the future of that site, and knowing that if it was something like an SMR, that obviously one of the byproducts of SMRs is spent fuel that has to be dealt with appropriately. Council has taken the opportunity to educate themselves with the mandate of the NWMO and what they're doing, and then looking at, like I said, the resolution that supports their mandate as well, was the intent.
Thanks, Chair Johnson. So in the conversations that I've had with the people that were part of that group, it wasn't just about the repository, it was a nuclear-free zone. And without us being there, because I wasn't, I was too young, and I'm sure you weren't there either, and those are the people that we can only rely on for the actual intent of the information. So I still think it's our due diligence and our duty to consult with the citizens of Atikokan, because it is such a big issue. in regards to the nuclear, especially if you're looking at the small modular reactors, and go from there, and also look at the exploration of other safe energy for the future.
Councillor Knowles?
Thank you, Chair Johnson. I've read this very carefully, and I'm struggling because this is essentially two issues that are put into a single resolution. One that says that we support the exploration and development of new nuclear energy projects, and the second, which is the supporting of the site that is proposed in Ignis. So I'm not sure specifically why those two are together, because they are very different questions. And to be honest, as a councillor, until a site is chosen, I really don't see the benefit of choosing a side one way or the other when that issue hasn't been solved and we're not that far out from hearing a decision from the NWMO about which site they are going to choose. So as far as that goes, I'm not sure why we have a need to deal with that part specifically right now, and why it needs to be included as part of this resolution, and why it's not being addressed as a separate piece after the site has been chosen. So maybe I just need a little clarification on that. Thank you.
Sure, I can speak to that, and thank you for the question. The intent was, I think, more so that if council is going to make a stand to say that, you know, for OPG in the long-term planning, that, you know, SMRs might be a logical choice, it would be hand in hand, right? Because you can't on one hand say, oh, we want an SMR, but we don't want to deal with the spent fuel that comes from that, right? So I think, and again, I guess maybe it's not clear, but it wasn't so much that we're asking council to make a stand on which site should be selected for NWMO. It is more about understanding the importance of the work that NWMO does, and you know, their mandate to deal with the fuel, obviously the spent fuel. The site selection obviously is very polarizing, obviously for a lot of people, but I think what we're asking council is to acknowledge the work that NWMO is doing, and the ultimate mandate and goal is to, you know, safely handle the spent fuel that our country has created. So I think that's why they were connected, because they do somewhat go hand in hand, and obviously, and I think to Councillor McQuay's earlier point, if OPG is looking at, you know, decades into the future when they do their planning, and certainly if they had chose Atikokan, you know, as far as zoning and stuff goes, it could be a discussion down the road as well. But understand, and we're very appreciative to the extension of their current contract with biomass, but understand at some point, if that biomass contract does run out, and OPG then decides that they no longer need that site, the council of that day is going to have a very, very difficult conversation regarding our tax revenue, the services we offer, and how that's going to look. So to anyone who you want to ask a question of, well, do you want to have OPG stay in our community? My second question would be is, you know, are you happy with your current level of services and your property taxes that you pay? Because our community will look very differently if OPG is not a part of that in the future. So I think that was kind of just the reasoning of they do kind of go hand in hand. But again, that's why we're here. Is we're here to have this discussion and to figure out what does council want to do moving forward, and what does that look like.
Councillor Knowles?
Thank you, Chair Johnson. I appreciate that answer. I would propose, and there's been some discussion about this, I don't have an issue with, in the resolution that's provided, and I'm not sure if we're skipping ahead here, but in that the first three bullet points of that are fine as is, and the whereas, I would propose that we would say, therefore, be resolved that the town of Atikokan supports the development of new energy projects in Ontario and encourages collaboration between industry, government, and local communities to ensure their success, period. In that is a positive overture to existing and developing energy projects, removes the stance of a nuclear-free zone, but also doesn't endorse that we're a pro-nuclear zone. and also leaves the door open to additional developments, whether they be nuclear or whether they be any other form, whether it be pump storage, whether it be hydroelectric, whether it be solar or wind or any other perhaps new technology that comes out over the lifespan.
Mayor Ferguson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I think that's kind of where we were trying to go on this. As it currently sits, the resolution from the council of the day back in the 90s pretty much slams the door on anybody looking at doing anything. And through this resolution, we're not saying we're in favor of anything. We're not throwing our arms open, welcoming whatever comes down the pipe. All we're saying is we're willing to listen. And I think that's really because Jason, and I can't speak for Jason, but I know myself, is that comes up in discussions, that resolution from the 90s. Whether it was 30 years ago, people still look at that as Aticokan's not interested in anything. And all I'm saying through this resolution is we may be interested. Let us know what you're thinking, and then we'll make that decision. I think we're kind of putting the cart before the horse and saying that we should, talk with, discuss and have a referendum with the community, and we don't even know what the referendum is going to be. So let's open that door a crack so people understand that we may be interested, and then when something comes up, then we can debate and decide and do whatever we need to do to make that decision. But as it currently sits right now, the perception is that the door is closed and locked and we're not interested in anything.
I totally agree with that statement. Jason?
I also think, and council understands this, but I think just for the general public to understand is the resolution of council dies with the term of council. The resolution that was passed in 1990 has no relevance today. It's an article, it's history, it means nothing. But as Mayor Ferguson has said, it does come across the tables and the discussions of the decision makers in Toronto. And unfortunately, that can, that will guide them in their decisions of what they want to do in the future. And unfortunately, that could have dire consequences for our community. So we know that resolution is not valid, but it's a perception. So I think what I'm asking council is to make a decision and let those decision makers know that there are opportunities here because our livelihood depends on it. Thank you.
Councilor McQuay?
Thanks, Chair Johnson. So if it's coming across the desks of people still, then it's obviously an issue. And I understand that. What I'm saying is, instead of us making a resolution saying that we're no longer, we accept nuclear or what have you, we need to discuss it with our citizens. It was that big of a deal that many people went door to door, stomping on the ground to declare Aticokan as a nuclear-free zone. I don't know what the answer is, but I don't think it's fair that we sit around this table or around this room saying that this is null and void, which, okay, it is. However, we need to talk to the people of our community and see if this is still what their wishes are.
Councilor Zacharias?
Thank you, Chair Johnson. I think eliminating nuclear from this entire resolution, not the entire resolution, but from the main title, and just like Councillor Knowles said, just having the first 3 bullet points opens us up. We can't deny that we don't use nuclear power up here. Like, there's no way to deny that. But I think if we take out the development and, like you said, of new energy projects and not pigeonhole ourselves into just opening ourselves up for nuclear, and yeah, I don't know that we need to agree. I also agree with Councillor Knowles on the supporting the Ignis site before it's even an issue. And that's the same with the going to the community. I don't think because we're opening ourselves up to the exploration. So we don't need to get ahead of ourselves and go to the citizens right now when it's not even on the table, as far as I know. So I think just creating a blanket statement of, yes, we're opening to new future energy projects, period, that would be more palatable for everyone.
But I don't see in this resolution where we're agreeing to anything. We're just saying the door's open for discussion.
As long as, like I said, as long as development in the therefore it be resolved, the town of Atikokan supports the exploration and development of new nuclear energy projects. I would prefer it say, therefore it be resolved that the town of Atikokan supports the exploration of new energy projects in Ontario. I don't know why we need to pigeonhole ourselves into just nuclear with this specific resolution. I think we can have it open to new energy projects.
Councillor Shine, I'm sorry, I have to look at.
Thank you, Chair. Is there any reason why Councillor Knowles and Jason can't work to develop a resolution that would be more relatable to what I think everybody is trying to get their point across as? Do we have to make this decision today? Can we not, cannot Councillor Knowles and Jason, whoever needs to be, the mayor, work on something that's going to be more palatable to all of us, rather than, I think some people are beginning to feel that we're being pushed into a corner today to have to vote on this. That's just my observation.
So if you look at the council agenda, this is not on. There is no request to expect council, there's no strong arm to council to push this resolution through. This is what we wanted, is we wanted this kind of conversation to gauge council, to find out where they are. This, as Mayor Ferguson said, this is a first round resolution to get the conversation going. There's no ask today at all, other than the conversation. And we want all of council's input in the drafting of a resolution that everyone will be satisfied with. If I could go back to Councillor Zacharias' comment, the reason we have specifically said nuclear is because of that old resolution, right? Because of the potential harm that the old resolution still does. So I agree with you. We absolutely support all new energy projects. And don't get me wrong, I mean, we support biomass. I mean, we're very, very strongly supporting biomass for our forest sector, for the current employers and the pellet producers. I don't want you to think that we're trying to push these guys aside and we want nuclear. That's absolutely not the intent of that. We do support that, but that will have a shelf life. At some point that will end, or maybe there's a combination. We are looking for 10, 20, 30 years into the future. So it's supplemental, I think, to what we have. So I agree with the wording that yes, we support all new energy projects. Of course we do, but because of the history, we're trying to, very specifically talk about, the certain sector. That was the intent behind that. So, and then I guess my third point, while I have the floor, my only concern about going to the public, and I said this before, is what's the question, right? We have no say in where a proposed DGR goes. We know that. We are not accepting nuclear waste in our community. We know that, right? The NWMO is not asking our community if we want it here or not. So my concern is, you can certainly go to the public and say, are you for nuclear waste or not? Trust me, very polarizing, and of course you're going to get a lot of people with a lot of opinions on that, but at the end of the day, that, it's not going to change the decision makers, in my opinion. So we're not here to ask about that. We're saying that as our community and the future of our community, what do we want?
Councillor Martin?
Thank you, Chair. Chair Johnson. I think people are getting hung up on the word exploration, and that implies that they're going to come and explore, so maybe it could be as simple as just replacing that word or taking that word out. That's kind of the impression I'm getting, that we're saying that, well, we want them they can come and explore. Okay, I got it wrong. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Zacharias?
Thank you, Counselor or Chair Johnson. No, it's not exploration. Exploration is fine because then we can have the conversation, open it up to a conversation. It's development that I would like stricken from the resolution because that feels like more of an agreement to the next step, whereas just I would like to have the conversation and then we can go from there. And also about the nuclear, I just wanted it stricken about, like, in the title. I didn't want it to be like, hey, nuclear open for business, but it does in the first whereas state that we have a diversifying energy of nuclear, hydroelectric, biomass, wind, solar, and energy. So that's, I think, takes care of that.
Yeah, I think just for simplicity of the agenda, that title was in there. It wouldn't be in there if the actual resolution was being read. It was more of a title, so yeah, that wouldn't be included.
Are there any more questions? Councillor Knowles?
Thank you. It'll be the last one I have, I promise.
That's all right.
If it pleases everyone, I'd be happy to circulate what I would like to see in a resolution, and happy to have further discussion from there.
Yeah, I'm certainly, and that's exactly what we wanted. So I mean, we can certainly beat up a draft over however long it takes. You know, there's no timeline on this. But again, let's keep the conversation going. Let's come to a consensus of the message that council wants to put out to, like I said, those decision makers in those different industries. Sure. Yeah, no, that's great. I appreciate the feedback. Thank you.
Councillor Shine?
Thank you, Chair Johnson. I think these are all good conversations that we've been having, but we do have to be cognitive too of the fact that we do need OPG because that's 45% of our tax base, as well as 99 employees, which affects our housing, which affects the pellet plant as well, because let's face it, we don't have a large tax base in this community, and so I think it's just got to do in how we present it.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor McQuay?
Thanks, Chair Johnson. And I just want to point out, this is another reason why a strategic plan is so very important, because we'd have the information at our fingertips already. We would have done the consultation. We would have talked to the people of our community about things moving forward. So I think we need to get on that yesterday.
And yes, Councillor or Chair Johnson, this will be my last statement as well, is in the further resolve, if it did go to Ignis, and again, we don't have any say if that's where the federal government decides that that's where it's going, I want to see Atikokan get its fair share of piece of the pie on any business opportunities, any labor opportunities, anything that could possibly, it's going where they say it's going, but I want to make sure that we have our hand out and say we want to profit from this. If it's going into Ignis, I want to make sure that we are profiting somehow from this event. I don't want to see it all go to Dryden, I'll go to Ignis, I'll go to wherever on English River or Uppsala or anything like that, and everybody else gets their fair share, and because we're saying we don't want anything to do with it, that we get shut out on what could possibly be millions of dollars for the Atikokan economy.
Jason, correct me if I'm wrong, but OPG pays a considerable percentage of our tax base. Is that true?
Yep, approximately 43 to 45%. That's just the plant alone, never mind, as someone had said, the employees and the spinoff, yeah.
So losing that tax base would result in a huge decline in services and or a huge increase in taxes, or both?
I would say that it would be safe to say that our community would look very different either way.
So we fought hard to get to 4 tax increase this year. You imagine what it's gonna be like if OPG goes down.
Correct.
So is it council's wish to table this and put it on the agenda again, or does everybody want to submit to Jason and Councillor Knowles their idea of a draft? Or would you like to have an open discussion at a later meeting?
I think that I'd be welcome to take input from all counselors, and then we could put forward further drafts for further discussion. Yeah, we can work our way down to get something that the majority of mayor and council are happy with. Certainly, yeah. That's fair.
Is everyone happy with that?
Chair Johnson, yeah, I think that's the good way of going about it. This wasn't, again, echoing what Jason says, to push this through today. It's one of those things, if we don't start, we'll never finish. So this is the actual start, and it may take a month or 2 months to get something that the consensus supports it. Again, we're not trying to, the idea was not to push this through today, definitely not. If it needs to be wordsmithed and to satisfy everybody's concerns, then it takes as long as it takes.
That was very healthy discussion. Thank you, everybody, for holding your tempers. Just saying. Moving on to the next item on the agenda would be amendment to the Schedule A of Navigational Canada Agreement. And I would probably turn that over to Tyler.
Yep, so super simple one here. As you guys remember, we did an agreement with Nav Canada to lease them some room at the airport, and we're just correcting a typo in the agreement.
And is there a resolution coming forth?
I believe maybe at the next meeting? This one?
Okay. Any discussion on that matter? Moving on, we will now move in camera because of an identifiable individual. Motion by Liz Shine and second by Gordon Morton. All in favor? Carried. We gotta sign this? Mic's off.
Do we need the mics off? Leah?